kind of day where every drop pass or late tackle feels like the pulse of a city still nursing the echoes of last season's heartbreak close. Yet so far, you can almost hear the ghost of Barry Sanders weaving through the locker room, whispering every step matters. Now, lean in, because something's nudging the Lions back toward that pulse, like a shot of Detroit grit straight to your veins. And I'm not talking about the usual chatter on the field, but the quiet dance of recovery and resilience, the subtle shifts in the roster that only true Lions fans can read like the scars on a veteran QB's throwing hand. There's a buzz coming off Ford Field these days. Imagine sitting in that sticky, electric atmosphere of a brutal Detroit summer practice, where sun beats down, but dreams keep raising off the turf, and you see some of the guys finally pushing past the sidelines, stepping closer to the full fight. Not just any practice returns, but something meaningful. You catch a glance of Ahmed Hassanein stretching out, that lower leg injury from Monday, seemingly forgotten in a flash of determination. And then there's Terrion Arnold, crawling back from a hamstring that had us all biting our nails. He's not just dipping a toe in the water. He's suited up, moving in those individual drills, letting the inner roar of a Lions secondary hungry for dominance fill the practice field. Carl, the bartender, leans over with that wry smile, shakes his head, and says, "Something big is moving? Wait till you hear this." And brother, he's right. This isn't just rehab, it's a game-changer baked into the blueprint Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson are scheming on their whiteboards under the Vegas sun. Because we all know Campbell's offense and Johnson's protection. Schemes thrive on balance, a chilly Christmas run game fused with a sharp, opportunistic pass attack. Now bring back Hassanein, the rookie edge bred for versatility, who showed flashes in training camp last year before that low-leg scare. He's been snapping at the heels of established rushers, and now his return is like reviving a crucial cog that could crank up QB Jared Goff's edge pressure numbers big time. That's not just a roster spot, it's a strategic push in a defense desperate to solidify the pass rush with fresh legs and relentless pursuit. His presence means more snaps off the bench for a defensive unit still defining itself. And it tears at our depth chart like a rip in a historic leather jacket we all cherish. But the story runs deeper. Terrion Arnold, the second-year cornerback, is the chess piece that could tip the scale in the Lions secondary. Last year, he was a pleasant surprise, showing an aggressive man-to-man flair and lockdown potential that stoked Detroit's dreams of a turnaround. His hamstring had us sweating harder than a mid-August game against the Packers, sidelining him from the physicality of joint practices. But his move back into those individual drills and whispers that he might be ready to roll fully by Thursday, that's the kind of momentum you sip on slow, because it could translate into tighter coverage, fewer explosive plays left on the field, and a rookie stepped-up defensive coordinator Mike Tressel's trust in the backfield. Arnold's progression might even nudge guys like Khalil Dorsey deeper into the pup-less shadows, signaling a new pecking order in Detroit's defensive backfield. And here's a little locker room humor for the road. You can almost see Campbell and Johnson scheming over coffee, Campbell whispering with a grin, "You know, if these guys keep bouncing back like this, maybe I'll have to get a bigger whiteboard." Because the ripple effect is real. We're watching depth battles heat up, injury lists thin out, and a Lions roster start to shift from could be to about damn time. This week's joint practices against the Dolphins aren't just warm-ups. They're a crucible. How will Hassanein's rep increase affect the edge rush rotation when the pads hit full heat? Can Arnold's return tighten up coverage enough to prevent the big plays that haunted us last season? And what about the ripple? Will this bump in defensive competency allow Johnson to dial back protection for Goff, giving the Lions the quick strike passing game Campbell so desperately wants? Or could it force a reboot for others struggling through injury, like Kirby Joseph or Morris Norris? Remember, those aren't just names. They're potential X factors that can turn a season from a series of almost to a relentless march toward playoffs. And in Detroit, after years of being beat down by roster volatility, that would feel like salvation. Can they trigger the snap share chains that redefine who's wearing Honolulu blue on game day? Or will they be just a fluke in the endless Detroit struggle to stay the course? One thing's certain, when those two hit the field in full force, this season won't feel like the Detroit we're used to. It could be something raw, fierce, and utterly unforgettable. And somewhere just beyond the glow of the practice lights, you can almost hear the city holding its breath. This is Detroit, this is grit, and this is the season where legends are forged not just in sweat, but in the shadows of doubt that still cling to old scars. As Hassanein muscles his way back into the rotation, whispers swirl around the locker. Room that his explosive pass rush could be the jolt this defense desperately needs, something that might finally free up the front four, turning Goff's job into a quick-release carnival rather than a high-wire act. But here's where it cuts deeper. Word is, the Lions coaching staff might start doubling down more on the pass rush drills, secretly eyeing Hassanein's resurgence to finally shake off the injury stigma that's haunted him since last year's low leg scare. Meanwhile, Arnold's return to full-speed drills isn't just a secondary comeback story. It's a potential seismic shift in Detroit's coverages, especially if Coach Mike Tressel's whispers of trust translate into a heavier zone defense that can shut down those explosive, game-changing plays that last season had us biting nails every Sunday. The narrative deepens when you consider that the Lions roster is maybe at its thinnest. Injuries to Kirby Joseph and Morris Norris could open up a floodgate of opportunities for young safeties and linebackers desperate to prove they belong. Yet the roster's cap space remains tight, enough to make the final cut an intricate game of chess, with fan-favorite veterans and promising newcomers fighting for every inch. And let's not forget Detroit's past is riddled with heartbreak that's left scars deeper than even Calvin Johnson's record-setting yardage, like the 0-16 season, or the brutal wildcard loss that still echoes in Ford Field's rafters. So, the stakes are no smaller now as Old Barry's ghost seems to loom over these practices, whispering that every player, every snap, could be the one that finally tips the scales. It's the type of moment Campbell's fiery leadership feeds on. A roster scrapping against the odds, a quarterback's quick decision away from transforming the narrative, and a city holding its breath, waiting for the roar to erupt. Maybe. That's why the buzz around Hassanein's explosive tempo has some whispers that he could be the final piece in a puzzle that, if assembled just right, can turn the Lions into a genuine force rather than an almost but not enough story spun for the old Detroit faithful. But it's not just the defense. Goff's leadership might get a sexy new tool if all these pieces fall into place. The kind of quick strike passing game Campbell dreams of, where every yard gain is a shot of adrenaline straight into the heart of the NFC North. And the ripple isn't just confined to the grid or it is. The front office has been eyeing the cap implications of these sudden surges, trying to balance the budget on the edge of a knife, knowing that dropping a veteran or two might free up just enough space for a big deadline move, maybe even a splash signing that could send shockwaves through the league. Rumors swirl of rival teams already circling, sensing Detroit's moment, and maybe, just maybe, the Lions' historical ghosts of wildcard heartbreaks are stirring in the dark corners of their mind, fueling extra intensity as players like Dorsey look to cement their spot beyond the shadow of an injury. Campbell's jokey remark about needing a bigger whiteboard now takes on a new meaning. This isn't just about schemes, it's about rewriting a franchise's identity, about turning the scars of past failures into shields for future glory. And the question becomes, will the combination of Hassanein's fiery return and Arnold's gritty comeback finally ignite the defense into a relentless, suffocating beast? Or will some unforeseen twist, another injury, a cap casualty, a misstep snap those fragile pieces apart just when you thought they were coming together? If Hassanein's rush snaps are the spark, and Arnold's tight coverage seals the field, then what's next? Who claims the last roster spot, the undrafted gem, the veteran bargain, or the saga that cap space flirting on the edge of disaster? And as the final cut whispers loom, the league's whispers grow louder. Will a rival swoop in with an offer that makes Detroit's heart skip a beat? Or will the Lions' resilience, born from decades of heartbreak, finally carry them over. The hum? Because this night, around the glow of Ford Field's floodlights, Detroit is more than a city. It's a battleground for redemption, and the last move on this chessboard is just waiting to be played. A move that could define a season, a story, for years to come. Keep your eyes peeled, because when Hassanein and Arnold hit the field ready for war, this season won't just be another chapter. It might be the emergence of the Detroit Lions' true, unbreakable roar, a final call that's echoing through the heart of Michigan, promising that the comeback starts now, and it's coming fast, inevitable, and utterly unforgettable.